The Highland air was thick with a damp, almost mournful silence, the grey sky draped low over Balmoral as though in quiet mourning already. Inside those storied stone walls, time seemed to hesitate. Mantel clocks ticked on in solemn rhythm, hearth fires murmured in their ancient grates, but something essential had shifted. The great Scottish estate, so long a personal refuge for British sovereigns, was now bearing silent witness to history's shadow creeping closer. Just minutes before, the king's physicians had slipped discreetly from Charles's private chambers, their departure unaccompanied by hopeful glances or gentle platitudes. Their words had been measured, clipped with clinical finality. The latest treatments, once spoken of with cautious optimism, had failed. The prognosis had darkened almost imperceptibly at first, from talk of years to cautious mention of months. And now, grim whispers dared to circle around mere weeks. The reality of mortality, so often abstract in royal life, had drawn close enough to breathe upon their necks. Behind these walls, where tapestries muted the cold stone and ancestral portraits seemed to study every visitor with knowing eyes, an extraordinary scene was quietly unfolding. Princess Anne, the king's indomitable sister, was there not just as a royal, but as the monarch's most unshakable confidant. In a private council charged with gravity, she carried forward a message that may forever reshape the course of the British monarchy. According to royal insiders, and summoned Princes William and Harry, two brothers long divided by painful rifts, to share with them their father's final and fervent wishes. Those close to the family say the meeting was at once tender and searing. The room felt weighted, the air thin. And when Anne spoke, her voice was resolute, carrying not only her brother's authority but the deep ache of impending farewell. "There's no time left for gradual change," Charles had confided to Anne, who in turn spoke for him. "It must be done swiftly, cleanly, with every measure of certainty." She laid out the king's last wishes with a quiet force that left no room for argument. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, beloved by the nation, admired around the world, must be named Queen Consort immediately upon Charles's passing. William must step fully into the crown and control of the institution without hesitation, stewarding not just a monarchy still modernizing, but one also carrying fresh emotional wounds. And perhaps most startling of all, Lady Louise, the shy, thoughtful granddaughter of Elizabeth II, barely out of her girlhood, must be brought forward now before national mourning hardened into cynicism. Her youth and poise, her reputation for humility and sincerity, could offer the public a balm, a reminder of continuity laced with innocence. As for Prince Harry, it was neither a return nor a banishment. The king's directive, Anne explained, was neither punishment nor reward, but cold-eyed pragmatism born of a lifetime spent navigating abdications, divorces, scandals, and an ever-watchful public. Harry would not resume royal duties, but neither would he be exiled from the family tableau. His presence would be recognized, visible, dignified, yet at an arm's length that preserved the balance Charles saw as essential for the monarchy's survival. For King Charles, whose reign has been shadowed by personal ailments and global uncertainty, the urgency was unmistakable. Those close to him say he has become a man racing not just against his own failing health, but against history itself, desperate to secure a future that still feels fragile. He remembers well the tremors of public faith during his mother's final decades. In these last chapters, he seemed determined to leave behind more than ornate crowns and gilded carriages. He would leave a monarchy structured to withstand storms yet to come. Despite years of painful estrangement, insiders reveal that Charles has intricately woven Harry, Meghan, and their two young children into the very heart of his funeral plans that, by royal tradition, are scripted with painstaking precision years in advance, coordinating the military, the church, the police, and the palace. It is not an omen of imminent death. Every monarch's funeral is drafted long before it's needed, but it does underline the depth of Charles's intention to heal wounds, even if only symbolically. In many respects, these final arrangements will mirror the solemn grandeur that accompanied Queen Elizabeth II's passing in September 2022. There will likely be the same stately procession through London's hushed streets, watched by millions around the globe. And walking side by side at its heart, just as they did before, would be Princes William and Harry, though now with William wearing the weight of the crown. As Charles's body lies in state within the hallowed arches of Westminster Hall, Harry and Meghan are expected to participate in the family vigil. Their children, young Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, are reportedly to be offered places of honor during the funeral rites and the committal service at St. George's Chapel in Windsor, echoing scenes that gripped the nation just a few short years ago. But even amid all the ritual and centuries-old choreography, insiders suggest Charles is quietly crafting a farewell with touches all his own. Reflecting his lifelong passion for environmental causes, reports indicate that sustainable materials will be prioritized wherever possible, an intimate, almost tender final signature on his decades of eco-advocacy. And intriguingly, whispers have begun to swirl through court corridors and royal watchers' circles that Charles may be contemplating one last dramatic gesture, a form of reconciliation with Harry and Meghan. Not a full reinstatement, no return to taxpayer roles or palace offices, but rather a graceful act of pardon that would reopen ceremonial doors and quiet the bitter tabloids. Those close to the king argue it would be a message to the nation, and indeed to the world, that even the deepest fractures can be tended with forgiveness, that family bonds may strain under unbearable pressures yet still hold. Such a step could ease years of public acrimony, offering a softer narrative in Charles's final chapters, one not solely about power passed down, but about love preserved, dignity restored. For the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, it may also prove a gentle closing of a tumultuous chapter, an opportunity to preserve their children's connections to their storied lineage without sacrificing the hard-won autonomy they now cherish. As Balmoral's ancient halls settled once more into quiet, the implications of that day's revelations rippled outward. For when Anne delivered her brother's solemn instructions, it was not merely a matter of titles and ceremonies. It was, at its core, a plea to protect, to unify, and to tenderly carry forward the fragile heart of a dynasty that has stood, battered yet unbroken, through 1,000 years of triumphs and trials. What comes next remains unwritten. But should Charles's health indeed hasten the transfer of power, the world will watch not just a new king crowned, but a family wounded, complex, yearning struggle to uphold the mystique and meaning of monarchy in a modern age that hungers more than ever for authenticity and grace.